Good morning. So, how is it going? Are you enjoying the points? Have you analyzed yourself? Different points? Have you checked in which points you are scoring high, in which points you may not be scoring that good, but still you wait for that particular chart which I will give you, which will make your self assessment very easy. I would give you only after I discussed about all the soft skill sets. After that, otherwise what will happen is there are many things which you may have within you, hidden within you, but you will jump onto that particular chart to fill it up and try to see where you stand. My suggestion is wait for it. You will get it at the end of the soft skills set before we go into other lectures like verbal communications, non-verbal communications, business negotiations, marketing strategy, time management, because there in such cases you might not really get much of a chance to self assess, but in terms of skills definitely you can. So, here now I start with another set of skills, social skills. The social skills is basically again also interpersonal, means you are talking to somebody, you are socializing. All these skill sets which are going to be listed within this is very interesting. You are in the market, you are dealing with others, sitting quietly within yourself and contemplating and thinking about some issues, some solutions, some innovations, some ideating within yourself is very much your own. But social skill is the moment you come across another person in front of you and now you start communicating. It is a great deal of skills which quite often ignored, or people may not be very much aware that how good they are in these social skills. So, let me go into the detail of this. Social skills. Advocacy is one such. Advocacy is what? In which you are trying to impress somebody or inform somebody, trying to help him to understand some points. So, you are advocating for something else. Nitty-gritties of this, or essences of something, or nuances of some points, or goods, or even sometimes evils or pitfalls. It is always better that somebody with a good advocacy skill should be brought in within the team. You are advocating to somebody else certain points. Mind it, do not get it confused with soliciting. Soliciting is seeking. Advocacy is basically you are trying to explain the scenario, explain the situations, benefits, pitfalls and every other aspects. So, this is one of the very strong social skill. Appropriate humor, which is a strong aspect of social skill. I will put a rider on it, of course. Appropriate humor is the actual use of this or utility of this is very much indicated in the first word of this, appropriate. Humor is good. You should be always happy. You should be always happily communicating with somebody, talking in a very lighter moods. But the humor is one of wits and humor. These two are very strong things which everybody should possess. But appropriate. Never use humor which is inappropriate for the situation, and it is not necessary that everybody with a good sense of humor or good humorous oratory skill wins. No, sometimes it might become a menace. So, it is always appropriate humor. Humor is a part of it. When you discuss, if you find that there are some mention of some lighter points may help, use it, but be very cautious about it. So, that is one social skill. Many of the opportunities are lost because of the wrong humor used at the wrong time in the wrong place with the wrong person. Since it is social skill, that means you are communicating with somebody else and he or she is expecting some kind of decorum of discussion. At that point of time, humor may be dangerous. Okay? And it is not necessary that everybody is looking for humor. No, humor automatically gets generated, and humor, when it is very appropriate, it really triggers also some success. But there is a danger if it is inappropriate, then you might lose. Okay? Then appropriate terminology. Do not ever use a term which is not befitting to the situation. You are talking to your boss. the terminology that you should use, be very careful. The boss is talking to the subordinates. The terminology that he is using is be very careful. It simply matters in the social skill that in which position you are. So, if suppose there are two persons and you are on this position and the other person is at this position. Now, what kind of terminology will best fit it, you have to understand. For this, I will tell you very frankly, not much rehearse is permitted, because you do not know where this discussion is going to lead to and what is the context at which you are discussing. So, the thing is, two persons, they are educated enough or knowledgeable enough trying to understand that what should be the appropriate terminology. Using a wrong terminology may be very, very detrimental. So, appropriate terminology is important in your social skill, for which I have a suggestion. See, you remember I talked about the vocabulary. I suggested one thing, that you have a good knowledge of vocabulary, but do not use uncommon vocabulary just to impress your client or the opponent, saying that okay, how much you have a good sense of or good knowledge of vocabulary. Do not use jargons, do not use acronyms which puts the other person as either less knowledgeable or very not very clear about what that acronym stands for. Same is true in the terminology. Do not use any terminology which are not easily communicable. In the whole game of communication, the clarity, the simplicity and the quick transition from one mouth to another ear is very important. So, for which use a terminology which is very simple. The best way, do not take any risk, use appropriate terminology which is very, very simple, do not complicate it. Okay? What happens is, I found the people who understands and also speak very fluently in English to impress over the opposite person whom he or she is interacting with, gives a sort of air like how much good he or she is himself, good in English. So, speaks the English in such a manner and using such terms as if you do not know, I know this terminology, and sometimes they get a pleasure, hidden pleasure inside, that okay, I know it, but he or she opposite to me does not know it. Does not help, because here you are on business, here you are on communication, and in this communication the clarity or quick transition of meaning to another ear once you have uttered a term must be very, very important. Okay. So, appropriate terminology, if you do not is very important. If you think required for your business, then you pick up the terminologies from the market. And in the market, I have another thing observed, that in the market sometimes some of the words are used as sort of a very common terminology, and common terminology which may be floating very easily across that class, but not necessarily it will work. So, here you have to be very careful that how do you use the terminology. Make a list of terminology which you think is going to be beneficial for you when you are going to communicate in terms of business. Okay? Then you check how easily it is transmittable, how easily one would understand, how easily one would infer the purpose of your using this term, and any kind of, I said, acronym, jargons. There are also some terminologies which are very much floating in the market. Such terminologies you try to avoid, which only a class of people may know. Do not try to even make a small, not cutting up word, something like never say like I want to give you an info. I want to give you an info. What is info? Basically, you are trying to say that I would like to give you an information. Now, it is not necessarily the person who is sitting in front of you are used to getting this kind of word. Another thing is very simply or very frequently being used in our SMS language, FYI, for your information. And suppose you say that sir, actually FYI, the matter is this, he will not understand why you are saying that, what you are saying. He will ask, what is that FYI? Then you will say, for your information only I am saying this. Makes no sense. Never make such kind of mistakes. Do not get habituated in your sales talking with somebody or communicating with somebody with the terminologies which are slightly less clear. Then comes appropriate proverbs. This is another dangerous thing. Idioms and proverbs we learn, and in the school we do excel and we get high scores, but that does not mean that they have very good use every time when you are talking to somebody else. You should use the proverbs very selectively, and also understand that the proverb that you are using, is it really, it may be befitting, but is really necessary. What does it indicate in your social skill when you are speaking with somebody? It is the clarity of it. When I will talk about the verbal communications in my next week's lecture, I will elaborate on many of these. I will come back to these points, but the thing is, you learn proverbs, but try to use as sparingly as possible, because proverb is something which not everybody is using every day, and proverb is only being used when you are trying to make an analogy with something else. Okay? So, use it very selectively and use it only if you need to. Otherwise, I will say you have a good knowledge of idioms and proverbs. Keep it in your mind and your stock, but do not use it when you are in normal communication. Building trust in the social skill is now nothing to do about talking. This is a very strong social skill. You are trying to sell a product, somebody is trying to buy. The whole game of exchange will take place over a platform of trust. You have met somebody first time, you are not going to tell all your historical backgrounds of of yourself or the company. This person will get a chance of only half an hour to know you and your company and your product. Okay? But within that itself, have you built the trust that whatever little the person opposite to you knows about you by this last half an hour, or sometime even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, have you developed a feeling of trust in him? It's reciprocal, mind it. If you have built a trust, then he will open up more. When I will talk about the body language in my next lectures, you will find I will give example that how a lack of trust is demonstrated by body language. If somebody does not trust you, you should sense that this kind of body language is giving me a hint that I do not trust you. Okay, they will come, but here building trust is one of the very strong social skill. And in fact, I will tell you, in the whole universe, if you find that you are alone, rest is all your family, friends and all. As a soul, you are alone, and then every individual around you, whether it is your spouse, your children, your friends, your teacher, your boss, your subordinates, everybody else is other than you, and everybody has a mutual expectations which must be built over trust. If you can build trust as a social skill, then you will find you will win over. There are certain things like honesty, integrity, trust and all these things which are very difficult to sustain. People break them for their own personal benefits. My suggestion is, take note of this particular word, trust. Build it. It takes time to build it. Code of conduct is how you are manifesting. It's something like, I'll give an example. When you're going for sales, you tap the door, and then either the person opens or you are asked to open, or somebody opens the door for you. Like the orderly opens the door for you to the chamber of the bosses. How do you go to him? How do you stand up? How do you introduce yourself? How do you arrange a situation that he requests you to sit? How do you sit? How do you put your arms? How do you talk? How do you explain your points? All these are a matter of conduct. How do you tackle difficult questions? You remember in the last classes I said difficult questions. How you tackled questions, how you tackle difficult questions, how you give answers, how you respond, how you communicate. All these has a certain code of conduct. This code of conduct is depending on profession, depending on the product that you are selling, depending on the situation you are in. The code of conduct, as I am expecting that you as a seller is going to somebody to sell your product, at the same time the code of conduct is also required for the person who is listening to you as a buyer. So, in these cases you have to be very well prepared in terms of code of conduct. Don't ever break the code. If you break the code, then you lose the person forever. It's the business. It's a business which grows over time. It's not the first deal that you are going to have with your client. It's not the first interaction that you are going to have with a client. It's not the first interview that you are giving in front of the interviewer. And at the same time, just look at the other side. It's not the first interview that you are taking as an interviewer. It's not the first purchase that you are making from the seller. It's not the first interaction that you are having with somebody else. Okay? So, the code is important. There is no really written code of conduct. Only thing is, all those positives that I said in our personal skill, if you take all positives, they almost set itself a code of conduct. You don't have to really try. Let me know what is a code of conduct if I am going to sell one, say, machine. What is the code of conduct I should have if I am a teacher? You see all those things which are required as personal skill, and then your social skill together, you will find that the code of conduct will automatically fall in place. You don't have to really try and write it down. So, take note of it. Compromising is another very social skill, very social skill, very difficult. Most often people don't like to compromise on situations. Everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to draw. Draw means even. Nobody wants to be even. Everybody wants to win, and nobody wants to lose. Now, compromising as a social skill is very important. When you find that things have gone to such a level that you are not being able to reach a consensus, mutual consensus for certain decisions, then the best is to compromise. This compromising skill is also very much true in the wars, very much true in the political scenarios. But it is not true in something like, say, where engineering is in, medicine in it, law in it, where there has to be a certain level which has to be attained. In such cases, compromising the quality in engineering, not done. Compromising the quality in medical treatment, not allowed. Compromising the quality in terms of legal judgment, not allowed. So, compromising is a good social skill, only thing is appropriate to some situations. So, you have to understand where this compromising required, and not only that, not everybody has this skill. In the whole set which I am talking about here, you will find not everybody is rich in all these skills. If you understand that what is the benefit of it, then you try to dig in more in it. Conflict resolution is one which is a very strong skill of some selective people. When the conflict arises, when there is a disagreement, when there is a disapproval, and when the conflict arises and the disagreement comes in, both the parties are highly agitated. If it is smoothly done, that means I suggest, propose something, you accept it, done, very simple. I propose something, you refuse it, now it starts, the conflict starts, because I propose something not for the refusal, but for acceptance. The moment you have gone on the other side, then the conflict arises, and when the conflict arises, entire mind system works very differently, and I would say very negatively. And since the conflicts are such that which needs to be resolved, otherwise the whole universe will fall flat. It is because of the conflicts the war starts. It is because of the conflict on the roadside fight starts. It is because of the conflict a project gets stalled. It is because of the conflict arbitrators are invited. It is because of the conflict the lawyers fight. Conflict resolution is one such social skill, strong social skill. If you are good at it, then you can always resolve the issues and resolve the conflicts. This particular point is very important. Always try to find out in your team if there is somebody who can resolve the conflicts. I will just cite one example which I have read somewhere else, very funny. I talked about something called problem solving. There are rarely such people who can solve your problems every time or any time, but there are some gurus who can solve your problem in just in a split second. You won't be able to imagine that the way he has solved your problem or resolved the conflicts. they're using a very fine techniques which are innovated on the spot. I'll just cite one case. A person came with a burn in the feet. The group who brought the patient to the hospital created a ruckus, saying that you have to immediately solve this and all that problem. They started threatening all the members of the emergency wards, the doctors and all others. The thing was going beyond the control, because the group who brought that particular patient, the group was really rowdies, and they didn't believed in any code of conduct that in the emergency ward how they should behave. All the young doctors, house staffs, they were totally at a loss what to do, how to resolve it, and they are all rowdies and they are abusing us, and they might break the things. It happens in the hospital, breaking and all that thing. One senior person just came in. He said, "What's the problem?" He said, "No, this is the problem, like said, this person has a burn in the feet and it has to be immediately looked into." The doctor looked at the feet and found that it's very easily curable. But his first point was to reduce or resolve this conflict of, these people are trying to get it done right now and doctors don't know how to handle it. You know what he did? He said, "It's a very serious matter. It's a very serious matter. Yes, if nothing is done at this particular point of time, then this particular patient is going to have a serious medical problem." Everybody stopped. Then he said, "I require each person in my chamber to explain what is the situation. And the solution lies in replacing that particular skin immediately." Then the doctor said, that senior doctor, "Each one of you who wants this particular patient to be taken care of properly, please support this replacement of the skin. Come to my chamber individually. Let me check your skin, whether I can take a part of your skin and replace that particular skin." You don't know what was the result. In a moment, the entire rowdies vanished from there, because nobody was ready to part with their own skin just for the sake of it, and everybody vanished. Then this person was asked, "Is it really a serious issue that this particular skin has to be removed and replaced?" "No, nothing. Only thing is, I converted the problem which they were throwing on to doctors, I converted them and thrown on to them, that you give me skin, I will replace it." And they found that nobody is ready to part with their own skin. They just vanished from the whole spot. This is a kind of scenario which is reducing or resolving the conflicts and solving the problem. It doesn't happen every day, but the day it happens, you really cannot handle it. Many of the hospitals, you must have found, if a patient has died, the family members, they come and break the hospitals, furnitures and all that. There should have been some problem solver. There should have been some person who could have resolved the conflicts. In negotiation, conflicts are very frequent. The conflicts are frequent because the interest clashes. The client wants to get it at the cheapest, they want to pay least, and the person who is trying to give the service, they want to earn most. The conflict is basically, it increases. The conflicts are very elastic. So, if you have good social skill by your oratory power, by your wits, by your common sense, you should be immediately solving this. At that point, what you require as a social skill is your presence of mind, that how you handle it. You don't try to think about what is going to go wrong. This is, I would say, if I now try to combine the skill set of that particular doctor who resolved the conflicts at that point of time, I would say he was very innovative. He was very innovative. He was not prepared for it. He just entered and heard the whole story. Within minutes, he solved the problem. So, he is a problem solver. He is a conflict resolver, and he is innovator. He created a story. He designed a story on the spot, and then he advocated the rowdies for coming forward to help. So, if you see all these things together, you will find that there are so many things which are required in our mind when you are communicating. This is important. Now, under this social skills further, collaborations. How do you collaborate? Work with others. How do you collaborate? This I have discussed earlier as well. Cooperative behavior is very strong point of collaboration. Why should somebody like to collaborate with you? Just first analyze this. Are you that great? Are you that great, or are you the only one that person or a group who is trying to collaborate with you are seeking your collaboration? Couldn't there be an alternative? Couldn't there be a better group than you? So now you see that collaboration they are looking for, it is highly dependent on the cooperative behavior of both the parties. Okay? When you are thinking about the collaboration, the cooperative behavior means you should be able to ready to help. Somebody requested for your collaboration in exchange of definitely service and payment, but your cooperative behavior should make them so comfortable that they should fall for you whenever opportunity comes, and they should not look for an alternative of yours. In a business, if you really want to earn fame and money, then your cooperative behavior is must. By cooperative behavior, you can also refuse a proposal very smoothly and softly, and politely saying, sorry, I cannot agree to your this proposition, I cannot join you. So your refusal of the collaboration also can be done with your cooperative behavior. Means you are cooperating with him to explain that you cannot collaborate. So you understand how strong the point is. Okay, customer handling skills is the kind of skill which is required by only people who are handling customers or dealing with customers. This skill is very peculiar. The person who is handling the customer, he thinks the customer has come here because of his demand of the object that he possesses or demand of the product. An example, suppose somebody has come to your clothes shop to buy a piece of cloth. You are on the other side of that sales window, and now you know that this person has come because he needs that particular garment. So he has a demand, and you are waiting for some people to enter to whom you will sell. Okay? Now, he will explain what he wants. You will show him 10-20 pieces, maybe that none of them matches with his expectation. And now if you start pushing, because you have spent about 10 minutes time with him, shown him about 20 pieces, each 20 pieces you opened and again closed, folded. It took your time and energy. So you want to make this sale closed. Then you start pushing him to this, that pushing him in such a manner that he is forced to buy one. I will tell you, this is a very negative skill. Customer handling should be such that he will not buy a single product. He will see about 10-20 products of yours of the similar nature. He will see it, not select it, and then go back with a very, very nice impression that this person whom I dealt with, I am feeling very sad that he showed me 20 such pieces, but I could not buy one. He should go back with that kind of feeling, so that the next day when you will come, he will enter to the shop with a smile towards you, and you also should return a smile, knowing fully well last time he came and did not buy anything. Today also he may not. So customer handling skill is very important, and I will tell you, for my suggestion for those who are appointing this customer seller, please choose the persons very carefully. Your business depends not on your communication with the customer. Your business depends, or business growth depends, or your turnover depends on your customer handler with the customer. There may be 10 customers handled by 10 of your employees, and you are sitting in the cash counter. Mind it, if 10 persons behave differently, you might lose out of that 10 5 customers who will never enter your shop because they have behaved differently. So you train them, either you train them if they are lacking in some skills, or else you select them based on their that particular good skill. So it is that social skill important, and I can tell you, good customer handling persons will always attract good customers. Dealing with difficult people, if I take it in the other manner, yes, if I am saying that handling skills, dealing with difficult people is equally important, because the whole world will be full with less difficult people, no difficult people, more difficult people, no problem making people, but the thing is difficult people will be there. So you must know, that is a skill that how you handle the difficult people. The one simple clue is, if you are handling the difficult people, the first thing that you do is keep your cool. Be calm, keep your cool, because difficult people, they create such an ambience that if you start reciprocating the way he is doing, it only aggravates and more conflicts gets generated. So, when you see somebody is difficult person in front of you, if you are trying to resolve or say solve the problem, then you become doubly calm, doubly cool, and then try to understand, do advocacy, try to help, do problem solving, everything is possible, but how you deal with the difficult people. All these charts that I will give, in which this will also be there. Do not be biased about yourself, do not be egoist when you fill this up. Be honest to yourself that no, I think I cannot deal with the difficult people. You must be ticking that. And if you wrongly tick that yes, I can deal with difficult people, but actually you cannot, then I will tell you your self assessment will be wrong. Defensive, be defensive, but do not be over defensive. Defensive is, you know the situation, you protect yourself, you defend yourself, but never be over defensive. If you be over defensive, I am sure you cannot really do any business. Offensive is negative, but defensive is for your protection mechanism, and over defensiveness is contrary to your growth. Delegation skill is one. Delegation skill is what that you have, say a large work has to be done, the work has to be shared, responsibility has to be delegated to some, because you cannot do everything alone yourself. So, you delegate. This delegation skill is very uncommon. Everybody who works himself or knows how to work on something and who has innovative skills and good skills of producing, they find it very difficult to delegate, because why he cannot delegate? The person he is delegating to may not be able to match the quality or expectation of this particular person. That is why delegation becomes difficult. But if you have the good delegation skill, that you know you can control the whole project's whole team and you are delegating responsibility to others, it always adds. One note of cautioning, let me tell you. If you are getting delegated, then be very careful. Watch the person who is delegating to you. Quite often you might come into contact of somebody who cannot do himself anything. He got a project, he got a position, and he is only delegating to you because he cannot do himself. Be very careful about those people. I have come across many such who cannot do, who will delegate to me, I will do it for him, and then he will not know what is the worth of time and the value that I have given, and he will keep on criticizing the work because he delegated and the work came from him to me. I will just put this note of cautioning for your benefit, friends. If you are getting delegated, then be very careful, never get delegated by somebody who is not competent. You will understand this in future when you will go to the profession. Diplomacy is one. Diplomacy is one, which is basically how you place things. Diplomacy is not negative. Being diplomatic means what you wanted to say, but you do not want to say. What you wanted to say, you say in a different language. This is a strong social skill. The ideal diplomacy skill is, if you have said your point, what you wanted to say, in such a manner that he did not get hurt, but understood what you wanted to say. That is the best way of diplomacy. So, diplomacy is basically evening out the situations. So, be diplomatic, but every time being diplomatic makes you a negative personality. Etiquettes and manners, I need to really don't need to elaborate. Etiquettes and manners is how do you manifest in different situations. Your movement of hands, holding of pens, taking the papers, tearing of the papers, folding the papers, taking out your handkerchief, getting up, sitting in, all these, it requires a manners. Manners is something which everybody feels very comfortable with. There are certain rules which are also taught in etiquettes and manners, that you should do this, 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 this. Okay? Since you are in the business, most often you are in the sales and marketing, in such cases your etiquettes and manners become very, very essential. That takes you through. People appreciate good mannered people. So now if you see, the manners is not simply one word, manners will be supplemented with many other personal skills. So I stop here at this particular point, and I suggest that you will go further, read more on this, listen to me, and if you have any other further queries, please send me a mail or give your opinion in the forum so that I can clarify many more points. Thank you.